Hello and welcome to my final favourites video of 2024, and today's video is going to be all of my miscellaneous favourites from the year. So it's going to be a little bit of everything: TV, movies, podcasts, music, just a bit of everything. I was going to keep this completely beauty free, but seeing as I haven't done my makeup on camera in a while and I have some new products, I thought I would do my makeup while I chat about my miscellaneous favorites, because I just thought it would be, you know, if you are watching this, something to look at instead of just me just talking. And it means I get to kind of do my makeup on camera, which I haven't done in probably a month. So yeah, let's crack on and do some makeup and talk about some of my favorites from this year. I will have all of the products listed in the description box so that if I forget to say anything, it will be there. But I'm going to start with the YSL Touche Éclat Blur Primer. This was in my makeup favorites of the year, and I'm actually trying to get the last little dregs of the bottom of it just to finish it up, because it's nearly done. I don't want to leave that little bit at the bottom. I want to use it up. So I'm going to apply this to my skin first while I tell you about my favourite TV shows of the year. So we began 2024 with something that became probably one of my favourite TV shows of the year, and that is The Traitors. We started with the whatever season, I think it was the second or third season of the UK one, that was in January of this year. I had heard a lot of things about it and I was like, right, I'm gonna watch it because you're not really doing a lot in January. I decanted my Ceratu Drop Foundation into a jar because there wasn't a lot of it left, and I was just finding it so hard to get it out of the bottle. I'll talk more about that in my empties, which will be next week. I have a little bit left in this jar that I'm trying to use up because I didn't want to waste it, and there was enough kind of left. So I am just trying to basically use this up because I absolutely love it, but it just has the worst packaging of all time. So I'm just trying to basically use the end of it because I just didn't want to waste it. So that's why it's in this little jar. It's released every week, so it was kind of something to look forward to and kind of watch every week and talk about. And then there's an after show hosted by my boy Ed Gamble. If you don't know what The Traitors is, it's like a psychological game where a bunch of people in the UK one, they're all just people who will just apply for it, but then the other countries who do it, the contestants are some of them are famous, reality stars and that kind of thing. The UK one is all random people who just applied for the show. It's a game show essentially, where they go to this castle in Scotland. Claudia Winkleman is the host. If you know what The Traitors is, you're going to just be like to me, just shut up. But if anyone hasn't seen it, I'm going to just give a brief description because I think everyone should watch it because it's just such a good show. I can't remember how many people they start with. I think it's maybe 20. It's a lot of people. And at the beginning, the first day or whatever, they make a certain number of people will be made into traitors, and then the rest of the people are the faithfuls. The role is to basically for the traitors to stay as traitors and not get found out, and the faithfuls to find out who the traitors are. So they have to basically do tasks in every episode and try and earn prize money. We watched this year's one, and then we went back and watched the first UK season one. Then we went and watched the Australian one, the New Zealand one, the US one, and I think we watched the Canadian one as well. I would say that the UK and the Australian ones are probably my favourite. I did really like the US one as well. The Australian, I think it was the Australian season 2, that was absolutely bonkers. It was just every week you were just how on earth are people doing what they're doing? It's just unbelievable the way that people can get away with things and manipulate other people. I just find it really fascinating, and it's just so entertaining as well. The UK one is starting on New Year's Day, so I am so excited to watch it again. But definitely, if you haven't yet seen it, just watch the new one that's going to start, because then you can kind of just watch it every week and it's just great. So that was like one of my top shows of the year because it was just so entertaining. Yeah, so I loved the Traitors. So last year I got really into Bravo and Vanderpump Rules. I binge watched 10 seasons of Vanderpump Rules last year. Previously to that, I'd only really watched a little bit of Beverly Hills Housewives and New York Housewives. So I kind of went back and started watching Beverly Hills again. I think I'm on like the season 6 now, maybe. But there are just so many, so it just takes a while to get through them. And then I started watching Salt Lake City. So I'm at the end of season 1 of Salt Lake City. I just actually bought the new e.l.f. bronzer and contour. And this is the shade Fair one, I think. Fair, yeah. I got it on their website. I didn't realise that e.l.f. shipped to Ireland, but I got it on their website and it's such a nice shade and formula. After kind of my like Vanderpump Rules binge, I also watched The Valley, the first season of that, which was good as well. Then I started watching Below Deck and became completely obsessed with Below Deck. Below Deck is, again, if you don't know, it's a reality show set on a super yacht, and it's all just about the crew of the yacht and their charters that they take on, and they kind of have like a charter season for like whatever it is, like 2 months or however many weeks. So I watched, I think it's 10 or 11 seasons of Below Deck, like the original Below Deck. So I watched all of those. Then I watched Below Deck Mediterranean, watched all of those. And then I was like, I need a break because I got just so into it, and it just became like that thing that I just put on in the evenings when I just wanted to like chill out. And it's just, again, just so entertaining. And I do want to go back and watch like all the other, there's like all these different varieties of Below Deck. And I do want to go back and watch those, but I think I needed a little break after I had watched so many of them. And I then got back into Housewives and Selling Sunset, the new season of that. That was great. And I watched The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which again was just like nuts. Like they're all just, it's so funny. I just love reality TV. It's just so easy to watch. I think that was it for reality TV. Like I watched things like The Masked Singer. I'm kind of trying to finish Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and then I'll probably get back into Beverly Hills because that can kind of be a lot because there are so many episodes and they have like about 20 reunions at the end of each season, so it's a lot to take in, but I do really like that. So those are what I've been watching for reality TV. And then I have also, if you follow me on Instagram you probably know, but I have been rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the first time ever. I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer when it was first on TV. I don't think I watched the first season or two. I don't think I watched the first season. I think I watched the second one on reruns, and then I watched like the other 4. And like I would have been like 11 when that started in 1997. My mother did not let us watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but then I watched like the later seasons kind of without her knowing. But then as it turns out, since then she has watched it herself and she is like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer super fan. So that is, I just think that's so funny because like she'd catch me and my sister watching it like late at night when we were like whatever, like 13 or 14. She'd be like, yeah, watching that thing about vampires. Now she is like totally obsessed with it. Like she's watched it so many times and I have never rewatched it. So like the last time I watched Buffy was the 6th season, which was I think in 2003. So literally like over 20 years ago. So I decided to rewatch it because I just kind of wanted something easy to throw on in the evenings when I was feeling a little bit overstimulated and overwhelmed, and I just wanted like something kind of with a bit of escapism. And I'm currently on the 3rd season and I am loving it. It is just, I guess I forgot how just fun it is and how entertaining it is, and I mean, it's just so melodramatic. I love it. It's just so funny to watch something that I haven't watched since I was like a teenager. It's just so weird, but really fun. I'm going to just do my other eye and come back because otherwise I'm going to be here all day. This is the Hindash Colour Fluid in the shade Heartist, by the way, and I'm just kind of very messily applying it because I am going to be putting something over it. This is just like basically in lieu of a primer. It's like a kind of, I suppose, a primer and a base in one product. So yeah, I have been loving Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's just been so fun to rewatch something that I haven't watched in years. It's so fun. The third season of The Bear, loved that. It was kind of something a bit different than the other two seasons, which I really liked, and obviously excited to see the next season that they're going to do. One of my shows of the year, which is, I would say, the one thing, if I would encourage you who are watching this to watch anything that I'm talking about today, it would be A Murder at the End of the World, which is a show that is by Brit Marling and her writing partner Zal, I can't remember his surname, Zal Bat. Oh, anyway, it's Brit Marling and her writing partner who did The OA, which is like one of my all-time favorite shows. R.I.P. It was just like literally like one of my, devastated that they cancelled it. It's just like, that's one of the biggest TV tragedies of my life. I'm just going to use the Isomea palette. I'm going to just apply this iridescent shade. The OA was like, oh, I just still think about it. I loved it so much. So it was her new show, so obviously it had a lot of hype because the OA is one of those like cult shows that people just are like crazy about. A Murder at the End of the World is a murder mystery. So it has Emma Corrin, Harris Dickinson, Clive Owen. I'm going to use the silver now. A murder mystery. I'm not going to give spoilers, but it's just such a great premise, and the setting is incredible because it's like ice and snow and it's like really creepy. And then there is also a backstory to two of the main characters and their past, which is like incredible on its own, and it kind of really juxtaposes to the what's going on kind of present day. So it is just one of those shows that every episode you're just like, that was amazing, I can't wait to see the next one. It like just does not disappoint. It's amazing. The performances are incredible, the sets and everything, and it kind of like keeps you guessing the whole time, which I really like and appreciate. Yeah, there's all these kind of mysteries surrounding what's going on, and you kind of don't really know who is telling the truth and who isn't. So it's just such a great show, and I just cannot wait to see what they do next because they're just so talented. Like, they're just such original writers, and everything that they do is just so different, and I absolutely loved it. So that is my number one choice. If you were to take any of my recommendations from this video, watch A Murder at the End of the World because it's unbelievable. So that was like that was probably my top pick of the year. Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Donald Glover and Maya Erskine. That was really great. I was so excited when I saw that they were going to be in that, and it was just such a great show. And yeah, again, another one that I highly recommend. As far as I know, I don't think they're doing more. I think they might have like different actors in it. I'd never seen the films. I didn't know really what the premise of it was. Two of them were amazing together. I love her. If you haven't seen Pen 15, that is the show that I first saw her in, and it is like one of the funniest shows of all time. It's kind of all about like teenagers in the early 2000s. The two main stars of it are like in their 30s, but they're playing 13-year-olds, and it's just so funny. Yeah, one of the best comedies. But it was like just interesting to see her and Donald Glover, who kind of I both know for more so for comedy, it was just interesting to see the two of them in this kind of role. I mean, it was still funny, like the show, but it's obviously quite intense as well because it's about, you know, hired or like assassins, I guess. But yeah, that was great. I loved that. Fallout, one of the top shows of the year. Speaking of Fallout and my boy Walton Goggins, Justified, another recommendation if you haven't yet watched Justified. It is like such a great show, but I cannot wait for the White Lotus, the new season. That is going to be so good. Because he is just such a good actor. Fallout was brilliant. I kind of wasn't really sure at first, but I just loved the actors in it. I loved the storyline. Kind of filled the void of The Last of Us. Not as harrowing as The Last of Us, but it's a similar idea, I suppose. It was just a brilliant show, so entertaining. One of those ones that you just want to watch the next episode straight away, and you're kind of not really sure what's going on. Again, I had no idea what the video game was really about. I think they really did a good job of that, and I assume they're doing another season. I don't know, but I'm excited to see if they do more because it's a very interesting concept. Another show that we watched, I think it's the third season of it that came out this year, but we had watched the previous two earlier in the year, and that is Colin from Accounts. So if you have not heard of it, it is an Australian comedy show. Again, kind of a weird concept, but it's like these two people who meet in really strange circumstances, and I guess it's kind of a will they won't they, kind of they hate each other, then they like each other, they're friends. The two actors in it are married in real life, which I didn't realise until after I finished watching it. It kind of makes more sense, I suppose, knowing that they're married in real life and they write the show together. If you're looking for something just really funny and easy to watch and something a bit different, that is such a great comedy. And I don't know if they're doing another season. They've done 3 so far. The third one came out this year, but I'm hoping they'll do a 4th because it was just so funny. I loved that show. Another comedy that we watched this year is The Franchise on HBO, and it has a bunch of actors in it that you'd recognize. Richard E. Grant is in it, and it's about a production team making I can't remember if it's a movie or a TV series, but it's like based in space, and it's all like, I suppose, the drama behind the scenes of the actors and the production and like the director. The actors in it are all great, and it's just kind of an easy watch, and it's very funny. That's kind of still going on at the moment. We haven't finished that yet. I don't know actually if it's over yet, but it is something we haven't finished yet. We've been kind of just watching it week by week. Another show that we started watching this year, and we are, I think, on season 2, and there are 3 seasons as far as I know, and that is Industry, which is another HBO show. And I had never really heard about it until this year, even though it's been going for a few years. But it is set in London, and it is essentially these people working in the financial industry. I described it to somebody, Euphoria meets Succession. So it is a lot of the quite intense interpersonal relationships of the people in the office, and then also the business side to it and how intense that is, and the hierarchy and stuff, because it kind of starts with this group of people who are like interning, and then as the season goes on you kind of see them moving up or changing roles or whatever, and it's just very intense. It's one of those shows where you can't really predict what's going to happen, and I really like that about it because you kind of have to pay attention. So that is something that I've been really enjoying. Then a few more shows to mention. We watched Hacks, the new season of Hacks. Love that show. That's amazing. I watched Nobody Wants This, that the one with Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. That was good. It was entertaining. You know, it was what it was. Easy, very easy to watch. I enjoyed that. Oh, we just finished The Penguin. Oh, just before I get into the Penguin, I just bought the House Labs concealer, so I'm going to try it for the first time now because I've never tried it before. It just arrived yesterday, so I'm going to give it a go. I'm just going to put some on the back of my hand. This is the Fair Neutral 04 shade. So I'm going to apply it with a sponge because that is how I tend to prefer my concealer application. I have heard so many good things about this concealer, so I'm really hoping that it is good. So yeah, the Penguin, we just finished that the other night and I did a makeup look of Sofia Gigante and I loved her whole look in that show. It was so good. And obviously, like, she was amazing in it. Colin Farrell was amazing in it. It's one of those ones that I kind of at first was a bit like, is this going to be a bit, you know, I'm always skeptical about a Batman or Marvel or anything like a spin-off or those, you know, the shows that they're doing of those movies. I'm always a bit skeptical. I found it like definitely kind of grew on me and kind of got better with each episode, and as you kind of like learned more about the characters. I loved her character. I thought it was great to see she's this like really strong character. You know, it's that kind of like anti-hero thing, you know, if you like, I suppose, like The Sopranos and The Wire and Breaking Bad and everything, like that's what it is. It's like, you know, you're not really rooting for anyone, like there's no one, I suppose, good in it, but it's like the complexities of the characters. So it is oh, that concealer is nice. Oh, I'm obviously gonna have to keep testing it, but that is nice. Like the shade match is perfect. I shade matched myself and I was really praying that it was okay, but that's actually perfect shade. Oh, I'm so excited to see how this wears. Oh, I'm excited about that concealer. I'm so happy that the shade matches. Yeah, I've heard so many people say that this is their favorite concealer, so I am very excited. I'm almost finished my Kosas one, so I kind of was like, oh, I can justify buying a new one. It was 25% off, so let's do blush next. I have the e.l.f. They released a few new shades in their Camo liquid blush. I hadn't tried this formula before, but they released this shade called Bold Faced Lilac, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm on the hunt for a cool toned blush that is going to work on my skin. I know this is not exactly what I'm looking for, but I don't have anything like this, so I set out to try it and I really wanted to try this formula. So yeah, the Penguin, really great, highly recommend that. The music in it is so good. That's like 80s music. I mean, you kind of have to pay attention to it. Again, it's intense. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's very, very well done. I have a bit more of the blush on because I just took a phone call from my mom. So I really like this blush. I think it's so nice. The formula is gorgeous and it's so easy to blend. I definitely recommend this blush. I think it's €8. If you like the Rare Beauty ones, or if you didn't want to spend the money of the Rare Beauty ones, it's a very similar formula. You only need a tiny little bit, but I really like this lilac shade. It's something like really, I don't know, like, I mean, it looks quite pink on me. It looks a bit more purple in person. It looks more pink there. I really like that. I think it's such a nice shade and it's kind of quite glowy as well. But I am going to put highlighter on too. So yeah, love to the Penguin. What else can I talk about? I think that was everything for like TV. I also have watched like Taskmaster. I love Taskmaster. I'm sure there's something I've forgotten. I didn't really watch a lot of movies this year. I have a list of films that I really want to watch that came out this year that I just haven't watched because I've been watching all these TV shows, and I guess prefer to kind of just watch a few episodes of something than to watch a movie. I just find it more engaging. There haven't been a lot of movies that have really caught my attention this year. I've watched like some kind of older films, and like I even haven't really been to the cinema that much. I did go and see Wicked and I absolutely loved that. I wouldn't say I'm like a musical theatre person or like a Wicked like super fan or anything. I don't really, I mean, I love The Wizard of Oz. I went to see Wicked in 2012 or something in Dublin, and me and my sister went to see it. And I think it was because we were sitting like right at the back and you could barely see the stage. So I don't think it was really the experience that I wanted it to be. but I love the story and I love the songs, and I was kind of like, I guess I was skeptical about the casting, but I do love Cynthia Erivo, and I first saw her in Bad Times at the El Royale. If you haven't seen that film, it's such a great film, and she sings an a cappella version of This Old Heart of Mine, and she has, oh, it's just incredible. But that's such a great film. It's so unique. It's really good, and she's amazing in it. And then she was in a show a few years ago. That must be like 5 years ago now. A HBO show called The Outsiders, and that was brilliant. And it was, again, such a kind of weird storyline, but she was amazing in it as well. So I was really excited to see her because I'm a big fan of hers anyway. And the surprise of the whole thing for me was Ariana Grande, because I just thought that she was so good in it. She was so funny. Her voice is incredible. And I just loved the whole movie. It's hard to go to the cinema nowadays. I was a cinema fanatic. I would be at the cinema like every week before 2020. I would have been at the cinema every week. But I just don't get to go as much, and I love going to the cinema. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world to do. So I went to see Wicked with my sister, and just like, I loved it. I just thought it was such a great film. I'm excited to see the second one now, but obviously, you know, if you don't like musicals, you know, you're gonna know whether that's gonna be for you or not. But I loved it. I watched like a bunch of kind of like weird films. We watched like that one Babes with Ilana Glazer in it. That was good. Like, it wasn't incredible or anything, it was good. What else did we watch? My Old Ass, which has Aubrey Plaza. Again, that was good. It was entertaining. We watched one called Snack Shack, which was kind of set, I think it was set in the 90s. Kind of a weird one, but like a coming of age kind of movie that was like very easy to watch, and the performances in it were very good. I went to see Inside Out 2 in the cinema with my daughter. That was her first cinema trip, and that was really fun. That was great as well. I love Inside Out. I'm going to just use my Refer 19 brush and do some powder and then do a little bit of highlighter. Oh, All of Us Strangers. That was like, I mean, if you are not in a good headspace, don't watch that film, because it's like intense, but like unbelievable. Like, oh my god, they were so good in it. Loved that. Like, I mean, I loved it in the sense of like, I'm probably never going to watch it again because it was so intense. I also watched Challengers. That was one I was really looking forward to, and I was kind of a bit disappointed because it left me wanting more. It kind of just felt a little bit superficial or something. There was just something about it that I just didn't live up to my expectations. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it didn't do it for me the way I thought it would. I mean, it's worth watching. It has Zendaya, so obviously it's worth watching. Oh, another film that was kind of a weird one that also has Josh O'Connor in it is La Chimera. I think it's how you pronounce it, La Chimera. That's such a weird film, but it was really, really good. I don't even know how to describe the plot because I don't even know what happened in it, but it's such an unusual film and he was great in it. So if you like Josh O'Connor or you want to watch something that's a bit kind of off the wall, bizarre, that is a really good film, and great like performances in it as well. But it's just like, it was one of those films where I was like, what just happened there? Like, really, really odd. I don't think I'm gonna set the concealer because I kind of want to see how it wears on its own. I want to watch The Substance. I want to watch Anora. There's like a whole list of films. Long Legs is another one I want to watch. It's like a whole list of films that I just didn't get a chance to watch this year. I am going to maybe throughout January watch all the movies I didn't get to watch this year because there are so many that I really want to watch. But yeah, that is one of my, I guess, New Year's resolutions, even though I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but that's one of them, is I want to watch more films and read more, because I read a grand total of 1 book this year. I'm just not a great reader. Like, my attention span is just so bad. I read a book when we were on holidays, and I started another book, Station 11, which, if you have not seen the show of Station 11, it's one of the best shows I've seen in years. That came out a couple of years ago, but it is excellent. I loved that show, so I wanted to read the book, and I'm kind of about a third of the way through that, but I haven't finished it yet. Maybe I'll get to finish it before the end of the year. Anyway, loved the show of that. So that's another recommendation if you haven't seen it. And I did get back into true crime podcasts because I had kind of taken a bit of a hiatus from them over the past few years because I guess life was fairly intense and I didn't really want the added anxiety of listening to stories about people getting murdered. So I gave up on a lot of my true crime podcasts and I just got back into listening to some this year. So I went back and I kind of listened to an OG true crime podcast, which is Up and Vanished. Those ones has been out for years, but I had never listened to it, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this a go and kind of see how it is. And it is a long podcast because there are like all these developments, but if you haven't listened to it yet and you are a true crime podcast fan, it is definitely worth listening to. And I'm currently listening to the second season of it. I think they have a few seasons now, but with different cases, but the first one is really good and I really enjoyed listening to that. And I suppose that brings me on to another favourite of mine, which has been cooking and baking. And it's something that I have enjoyed like all my life, but I think really, I suppose since I've been at home with Maya and being like a stay-at-home parent, I'm basically doing like 99% of the cooking, and it's something that I've really grown to love. My dad has a subscription to the New York Times and he was able to add somebody to that this year. So he added me because I often would ask him to send me some of the recipes because I would get emails of the recipes, but I didn't have a subscription, so I couldn't look at them. That probably sounds really weird, but if there was a recipe that I was interested in, he would send it to me. So he added me to his subscription. So now I have been like slowly making all these recipes from the New York Times food section, and I've like baked a few things. Like I made a couple of weeks ago, I made a banana bread with coffee and cardamom, and that was amazing. And yeah, I just love all of the recipes that I've tried from that, and I'm always looking for new recipes, so that has been really fun to try different recipes from that. And like I cook a lot of vegetarian food. Neither of us are like vegetarian, like full vegetarians or even pescatarians, but we both like enjoy a lot of vegetarian food. So I would cook a lot of like plant-based proteins, and we did eat a lot of fish as well. I've just enjoyed finding new recipes and like cooking, and that's when I kind of would go into the kitchen and put on music or a podcast and just cook whatever I'm cooking or bake, whatever. So that is something that I love doing when I get the chance. I got sent some PR from Nature Republic and they sent me their light on velvet tints. So I'm going to use one of the shades of that because I want to just kind of try it out. I will do actually a try on reel of all of these because the shades look really nice. So I'm going to use the Lily by Red Smiley Lip Blending Stick. If I think of it, I will leave some of my favourite recipes in the description box because there are some that I kind of like constantly use. Like I'll use them like every week or two. And like one of the things that I have loved cooking is sag paneer, which is paneer cheese and it's like a spinach and coriander based sauce. And I got a recipe of that from my future brother-in-law's partner. She gave me a recipe and then I found another recipe and I kind of combined those two, and it's just something I love making and I love eating. It's so delicious. I've loved cooking, I've loved baking. Another thing we watched this year is the Bake Off, and every week I would make something like muffins or a cake or cookies or whatever, and I would bake something to kind of coincide with the Bake Off. So yeah, that's just something that I have enjoyed doing, and I think it's really good for my mental health as well, which is always a good thing. Another hobby that I have enjoyed this year, and this all kind of happened because these videos started coming up on my TikTok For You page, and it was colouring TikTok, so colouring talk or whatever. And I did not know that this was a thing, but it kept coming up on my For You page and it was so relaxing to watch. And then I was like, I want to try this because I like colouring and I want something relaxing to do. So this is something that I've been doing while having Buffy on in the background, and it's something that I kind of do in the evening when I want to really relax and zone out and not be on my phone or doing anything like editing or whatever. I will just get my colouring book. This is the one I'm using currently. You've probably seen these. So this is what I'm doing in the evening, colouring in, and it is so fun. I love it. Like, they're just so cute. This is a Christmas one, and obviously, and this is just something that I've been loving doing, and it's just fun and it's cute, and yeah, it's just something that has kind of forced me to kind of concentrate and not be on my phone. So I really loved doing that in the evenings. It's like so relaxing. So this is the shade Mood Fig. I'm just gonna put that in the center of my lips and kind of do a matte gradient lip look. So yeah, I've loved colouring. That has been so fun. I just got some new markers because I've actually been flying through them. I didn't get the really expensive ones that everyone on Colouring Talk has because they're like so expensive and they're also sold out everywhere. So they're very hard to get. That's kind of nice, right? So yeah, I've been loving that. And another thing that I have been loving is Yoga Nidra. So if you haven't heard of Yoga Nidra, it is, I suppose it's like a sleep way of like fully relaxing. I got into it because my fiance's mom, my mother-in-law, she told me about it. Last year, at the end of the year, I kind of had a bit of a difficult time with my mental health, and she recommended this as a way for me to get to sleep easier, and it has honestly been a lifesaver. After she told me about it, I think for about 8 months after that, I literally did it every single night, and I was sleeping so well because of it. And then I started listening to other things, and I was listening to a bit of ASMR and some other kind of like calming music and stuff, because it really helps to switch my brain off, because I find that difficult to get to sleep when it's completely silent. So Yoga Nidra is basically you're kind of trying to switch off every part of your body and relax like all of your body parts, and your, you know, she'll go through all the different breathing and everything, and like she does some of the like physiological breath, and it's just like been so helpful for when I really need to switch off and really properly rest and relax. And it's one of those things that even if you don't fall asleep, it helps you to really rest. So if you're somebody who maybe like you need to nap or something, but you can never do it, because that's me, I can never like nap. I mean, I don't get a chance to, but if I was sick, say, and I was trying to like sleep, I find it really hard to like sleep in the daytime. So it's just very relaxing. If you're somebody who finds it hard to go to sleep, definitely give it a try, because I mean, I'll put it on and there's like a certain point that I never get past because I'm always asleep. The person that I am subscribed to on YouTube is Ali Boothroyd, and she has loads of different ones. She has ones with like, depending, like she has some sleep ones that are like a couple of hours long, and she has the one that has like rainforest sounds. She has some for like deep rest. She has some for anxiety. So there's loads of different ones depending on what your needs are, but that is something that has kind of been like a lifesaver for me this year, and it's just something that I would kind of swear by now, and I would recommend to anyone if you're somebody who finds it hard to relax or to go to sleep, or you need to just like switch your brain off. It's amazing for that. So that is a big, huge recommendation. Definitely check it out if you are somebody who finds it hard to switch off and relax. It's so good at helping with that. For music, I have not really gotten into too many like new bands this year. Obviously it was a Brat summer, it was a Chapel Rowan summer, you know, it was all about the girls. Brat is probably one of my most listened to albums of the year. It's so good, and yeah, I love it. But I probably would not go and see her live because I just feel like that would be a completely overwhelming for me. I went to my first gig in in almost 5 years. So I think the last gig I went to before 2020 was November of 2019, and I hadn't been to a gig since then. And I went to see the Pixies in, was it March? February or March. I went to see the Pixies in the Olympia, and that was so good. They did all of Bossa Nova and Trompe le Monde, the albums. They did both of those, and then they did a few extra songs at the end, and it was so good. I was so nervous because I hadn't been to a gig, and since the last time I was at a gig, my mental health has been, I've been on a journey, and I was nervous for the crowd element of it and being like feeling enclosed, and I just find all of that really difficult, and I get overwhelmed and overstimulated very easily. So I was really nervous, and I had tickets to gigs over the past 2 years, and I just sold all of them because I didn't feel ready. But I suppose since being on medication and kind of dealing with my mental health a bit more and finding ways of coping, I have been doing so much better, and I've been kind of like doing more and putting myself out there more, and going to a gig was kind of a big step towards kind of, I suppose, not getting back to my old self, but I suppose being able to do the things I loved to do before, and one of those was going to see live music, because that's just has always been one of my favorite things to do. So I was really glad that I went to that. It was an incredible gig, one of my favorite bands and two of my favorite albums of all time, so that was such a great gig. And then in April we went to see Combs, which is somebody who we both really love. He's an amazing musician. We listened to a lot of his albums when we first started going out, and then it was after that gig that we got engaged. Simon asked me to marry him, and that was, I suppose that's such a special memory now, because he was one of our favorite musicians that we both loved, and to have that memory of like going to see the gig and then getting engaged afterwards was so nice, especially because it was a shock. So it was such a nice experience, and live music has always been something that we have like bonded over and we've loved, and we've gotten to see so many bands together, and to have that be part of us like getting engaged was, I think, such a nice way for him to do it, because it was something I wasn't expecting. So that was like, obviously that's a miscellaneous favorite of the year, was getting engaged, because it just felt so, I don't know, full circle and appropriate, because we were basically 10 years together. I mean, we don't really have a proper anniversary, but it was like around the time that we would have been 10 years together. So it just felt really nice to go to see that gig and then have that be like such a nice surprise afterwards. That has been, I suppose, a big favourite of the year. I am going to do some videos trialling my wedding makeup, so that's definitely something that I'm going to do probably in January. So I think that's kind of it. Those are like all of my main miscellaneous favourites of the year. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to do this video as a kind of something a little bit different, because I do have other hobbies, and you know, I'm a big TV and movie fan and music, and it's just nice to talk about those things and not just talk about makeup. And so it's nice to kind of do something a little bit different. And I was just going to chat to the camera today, but I thought it was nice to kind of do some makeup at the same time. That is everything. That is my last favourites video of the year. And again, thank you so much for your support, for watching or listening, and do give this video a thumbs up or leave me a little comment if you have the time. I'd love to know what your favourites of the year were. Do you have any like movie or TV recommendations that you think I might like? Yeah, if there's anything else that you want to recommend, please do. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you're having a great day whatever you're doing, and thanks again, and I will see you next week with another video. Goodbye.